Hey ladies, welcome back to my channel. Hope you're doing absolutely amazing. Okay, today I have a really good topic, a topic where I'm going to be a little vulnerable, okay? And I want to talk about how my early 20s led me to having fibroids. The reason I want to talk about this topic because I want you ladies who are watching me, who are also going through fibroids, who have been diagnosed with fibroids, I want you to also do some maybe self-reflection of the years leading up to you being diagnosed, okay? Just so we can pinpoint, what was going on in our lives, why we, the root causes, right? Now, when it comes to fibroids, it's complex. When it comes to the root causes, it is because we're dealing with emotional root causes, energetic root causes, physical root causes, and all of these things are connected, but, don't worry, we won't get into it. You guys are going to see, right? It's important for us to be able to pinpoint some things that we've done along the way or some traits that led to us having fibroids so that we can have our aha moment, right? And then move forward from that, all right, as we heal, all right? So this is gonna be, like I said, a vulnerable video. Have my notes with me, make sure I don't miss anything. So yeah, okay? Share this video with somebody you know that has fibroids. And before we get started, make sure that you are subscribed. Okay, make sure you subscribe if you're not already a subscriber, and make sure you like the video. Okay, this is gonna be a good one. So we need some likes. Okay, so YouTube can push this out so more women can find me. Okay, can find this channel, can find this information, because like I said, always say there's so much wrong information out there when it comes to fibroids. Okay, now for those that are new, my name is Sasha. I'm a holistic womb specialist, and what I do is I help women who have fibroids and other reproductive health issues get to the root causes of these issues in order to adopt a womb detoxification protocol, okay, which will then enable them to eliminate fibroids, restore their hormonal balance, reverse PCOS, reverse all of these reproductive health issues, endometriosis, adenomyosis, so on and so forth, right, in order to get their bodies back in balance. Because when we have fibroids, it is a full body issue, okay? I've helped hundreds of women over the years through my courses, through my programs, not just eliminate fibroids, also reverse PCOS, reverse endometriosis, reverse adenomyosis, and get rid of uterine polyps, and so many other reproductive health issues, right? As well as restore their hormonal balance, okay? So I love what I do. I've also saved many women's wombs from having hysterectomies, from being cut open. And yeah, I love putting the power back into women's hands, because we talk about, reproductive rights and all these things a lot, especially in this current, climate, this election. But we don't talk about actually having control of our reproductive health. And the only way to have control is to understand and learn and know how to heal yourself. Number one, understand and learn how your body works, how your reproductive system works, and how to keep that healthy, and also how to not just empower yourself enough to also be able to pass that down, right? So if we have healed ourselves, we've gotten rid of our fibroids, then we could also equip our daughters with the same, our nieces, the other women in our family with the same information, so that they can also heal. So we're not passing down generational, horrible womb health, okay? Generational womb issues. A lot of women have had generations of women going through all of this stuff, fibroids, endometriosis, adenomyosis, generations of women having hysterectomies. That is a curse, like I always say, okay? It's not normal, and somebody has to be brave enough to cut that off. Somebody has to be brave enough to say, I'm gonna be the one to heal myself, so that the woman coming after me no longer has to deal with this, okay? It takes one. It just takes one to change her whole lineage. It takes one woman to be brave enough to just make that decision, to not just heal the ones coming after her, also heal the ones who were here before her, okay? So why can't that be you? Why can't that be you? And if you're watching this, you've been chosen. You've been chosen by whatever higher power you believe in. You've been chosen because you know this information. You know that there's help out there that can help you achieve this. You have been the one that's chosen, okay? So now let's get on with the video. How my early 20s led me to having fibroids, okay? Woo! It's gonna be a deep one. Okay, so, I'm gonna talk about coming out of college. When it came to me and my reproductive health issues, I remember I've always had, since high school, especially high school, is when I noticed it. I really had bad periods. And if I would have known, if I would have known what I know now back then I would have known that I had estrogen dominance. Okay, so I had painful periods. I had the bleeding wasn't really heavy in high school. It was just painful. Okay, it was just painful. Very painful periods. I remember always being in a nurse's office every month. Okay, nurse knowing me by name. She already knew I was there. It was that bad, right? So fast forward to college. I started seeing my period get heavier. I would say 17-ish, 18, 19, especially 19, 20-ish, around that, around the college age. I saw my period getting heavier and heavier. And, it didn't happen like all of a sudden. It kind of happens subtly, right? As time goes on, it just gets a little bit heavier. So it's easy to, if you're not aware, if you're not in touch with your body, if you're not keeping track of your cycles, if you're not really understanding your body, your hormones, and how your body works, it's easy for a lot of women to kind of just, say, oh, thinking this is happening because they're getting older, or because life is just lifing, It's kind of easy for women to kind of like, not really, because it can be subtle, it can come over time with your periods getting heavier and be more painful. And you can really miss it if you're not paying attention. And the majority of women don't really pay attention to their cycles and what's going on in their cycles, because they've normalized all of these things, from heavy periods to clots. So that was me as well, brainwashed, right? Thinking that all this stuff was normal, because that's what I was being taught by, doctors and even the doctors that we had on campus, the nurse practitioners that we had on campus. So we had like a health center on campus. So that's what was being taught. And even when I went to get a physical and a pap smear, like they tell you to do every year, they didn't say anything. Everything was fine. Okay. So I thought that I was good. I was healthy, but I wasn't. I wasn't healthy. So fast forward to getting out of college and just starting, working, during this time period after school, it's a lot was going on during those years. I mean, I feel like a lot was always going on my whole life, but those years, what was the thing that led to fibroids was because I was dealing with a lot of trauma. And at the time I wasn't really thinking about that. I didn't really notice that much. I didn't know, I was dealing with a lot of trauma from childhood, right? That had kind of, that I didn't deal with, right? I didn't deal with that. It was a lot of trauma that was in the womb, in the body, on an energetic level, that was present, right? Dealing with a lot of trauma. And how a lot of people try to escape their trauma is through alcohol, is through partying excessively, right? It's through, just trying to, so those are my coping mechanisms, right? I did travel a lot as well. That's when I started traveling, I would say, after college. But alcohol, partying, going out with friends, like not saying that that's a bad thing, right? But just always out, right? Always out. I was almost, when I think about it now, I was almost like I was running away from something, right? Which a lot of people do, right? Running away from something that I didn't want to deal with, again, a girl that was, because listen, in my 20s, I was hell on wheels. I've calmed down a lot. I was hell on wheels in my 20s, right? And just, a lot of anxiety, a lot of depression around that time, angry, a lot of anger issues as well. And again, this came from childhood. So I had a lot of emotional issues. At the time, I didn't know that, you kind of, when you've lived when you don't know, you don't know, right? So I didn't know at the time that I was going through a lot of trauma. I just thought that, this is just life, right? It's just hard, I didn't know. I hope that I'm making sense. I didn't know that at that time that was trauma. I didn't know that at that time I was dealing with a lot of, I knew I was unhappy. But I didn't know. I thought that, okay, well, maybe if I have more money, get a better job, things will be a lot better in my life. But it was more than that, right? So let's get to that. So I didn't understand how my body worked. That was number one. Like most women, I did not understand how my body, I just had a period, and that was, I took my, what was it, the Midol, the Motrins, and all that stuff, the painkillers to try to numb the pain without understanding where the pain was coming from. A lot of suppression happened during that time, emotional suppression and physical suppression. So you see how, what we do externally also translate internally. So I also ignored the signs that my fibroids were developing, that I was dealing again with estrogen dominance. I ignored the signs because I didn't know at the time those were signs of fibroids developing. Those were signs of toxicity in the body. I didn't know that, heavy bleeding wasn't normal. I didn't know that clots wasn't normal. I didn't know all these things were normal. And my periods got really heavy. They got really, really heavy, like to the point where I was, again, planning my life around my period, planning my life around being bloated, planning my life around, from down to the outfits to where I went. And I was just, at the time, I didn't see anybody around me having to go through that. So I thought I was the only one, I'm like, why are my periods so bad? Growing up, my mom always said my periods were only like 3 days. They weren't that bad. So she was always wondering, well, why do you have these big pads? And why do you, bleed so much? Like, what is going on, So, and again, even though my mom was a nurse, she didn't understand. Again, she understood the Western medicine side of it. She didn't understand why this was happening, right? Nobody in our family did. So nobody could really explain this to me at the time. And this was before social media, really. This was before social media. I don't even think Instagram was out during, no, I don't think it was out. So this was way before social media. I think we just had Facebook, but I mean, people, it wasn't like it is now. It wasn't like it is now, right? They didn't have holistic womb specialists, not that I knew of, right? Because again, all of these, YouTube was out, but this information wasn't readily available like it is now, right? It wasn't readily available. There was information out there about fibroids, but not like now, okay? Not like now. So, there was, I dealt with the heavy bleeding for years. I dealt with the cramps. So what kind of lifestyle was I participating in? Let me get to that. So I did not take care of myself at all in my 20s. Again, I had a lot of emotional issues, a lot of anger, a lot of anxiety, did not know how to self-regulate. Also engaged in a lot of toxic relationships. I had toxic long-term relationships in my 20s, especially in my early 20s. A lot of depression and anxiety, okay? Again, working in a job environment that was very toxic. Okay, I should not have stayed there, but when you are dealing with low self-worth, okay? And a lot of people deal with this without even knowing it, right? When you allow treatments to go on and you think just because, you have to deal with it because of a certain reason, because I have to keep my job, I have to pay bills, or I have to, when there's other jobs out there, when there's other opportunities out there. But again, when you are dealing with blockages in the womb, this will, like I said, translate into real life. A lot of people don't understand and know that. It may take you some time to really get that, but that's the truth, right? You don't attract, opportunities, abundance like you do when you are healed, when your womb is healed, when you're connected with your body, when you're connected with your intuition, okay? So everything was blocked up. Everything, how ideas and how things flow to me now, it wasn't that way at the time. I just always felt blocked. I always felt like there was a block. So I had a lot of stored trauma. I had a lot of, issues with friendships. I had a lot of mother wounds as well. That was from growing up that I had not healed. So a lot of also unhealthy just attachments to people. It was a lot. It was a lot. I wish I could talk to that young girl or young woman now and be like, but we learn, right? We go through these and we learn. So my relationship with myself and with others was very toxic, very, very toxic. A lot of negative self-talk, a lot of just, my diet was horrible. I would sometimes try to clean it up Sometimes I was also, also dealt with weight issues or in my early 20s. I was trying to clean up my diet sometimes, and then I would do the whole yo-yo thing, which is just not healthy, inconsistent with eating a healthy diet. I did work out most of the time. I would say in my early 20s, I was going to the gym at least most of the time, right? That was one thing I could say I did. But other than that, my health was a mess. My emotional health, my physical health. And here I was thinking I was healthy, right? Because most people don't even understand and know what health is. So didn't understand that your periods are, as a woman, your periods are a huge indicator of what state of health that you're in. Same thing with my hormones. But I had no clue about hormones back then. I knew I knew what they were, but I just didn't think that that was something I needed to think about in my early 20s, which it always is something you need to think about as a woman, even as a man, but especially as a woman, okay? So I wasted so many years sick internally and externally without even knowing it, right? Unhappy, unhealthy, so many years, okay? Until eventually, I did go through my healing journey in my 20s later on, but it was just it was so much time wasted that I wish I can get back, right? Where I normalized things that weren't normal, right? But you don't know what you don't know, and things got progressively worse, right? So I'd like to say, what were some signs that I saw before the fibroids, before I was actually diagnosed? Because when I was diagnosed, my fibroid was pretty big, okay? When I was actually diagnosed, I was dealing with heavy bleeding, and it got really bad. And I was like, well, it's getting progressively worse. I thought it was normal at first. I thought, not necessarily normal, I just thought it was something I had to deal with, my cross to bear. Which a lot of women, again, it's funny how we rationalize things and, without really wanting without understanding that, no, this is an issue, right? We will rationalize things for years. Please don't waste time doing that. So heavy bleeding, I had the brown blood, I had all that stuff, right? The cramps. As soon as I remember when I was on my period, as soon as I saw blood, I would be drugged up because with Midol and Motrin, because I knew the pain was going to be so bad that I couldn't operate. So I would just medicate myself, right? Suppress. And the breast tenderness was very bad. And I always say, and I've been saying this recently, breast tenderness is a precursor to cancer, breast cancer. I'm not saying that you have breast cancer if you have breast tenderness, but it is a red flag. It's a red flag. It's a red flag for you have to do something with your hormones. You have to balance your hormones, okay? And disclaimer real quick, or shameless plug, I want to say this. We do have a hormone reset masterclass coming up on 11/11. So if you have not checked it out, if you have not heard about it, it is for women who desire to balance their hormones as well as reclaim their feminine essence. Because when you're out of balance, you're not going to be in your natural feminine element. You're not going to be able to heal when your body's out of balance, right? So we're going to talk about that and break it down how to do that. It's going to be a very powerful 2-hour training, and I'm really excited about it. So if you haven't registered, it is $55 now until Monday. Monday it will go up to $88. So get it now while it's the early bird price, okay? If you're interested, the link is in my description box. All right. So really, so just it was a lot. It was a lot of issues, a lot of issues with my cycle. Finally, I said, enough, something's not right. Finally went to the doctor. They did everything. They found a fibroid. And at that time, fibroids, the topic of fibroids was not as popular as it is now, right? Nobody talked about it. I was like, I'm too young. And I remember when I even told my dad I was diagnosed, he was like, there's no way. He was like, that's impossible. Because I guess, probably in his time, people weren't diagnosed with fibroids in their 20s, right? My dad's a baby boomer, just lets you know my parents are baby boomers. So I was diagnosed, and they went through the ultrasound, they confirmed it, and they told me the size was 13 centimeters, which was pretty big, But I wish if I would have, like I said, if I would have had somebody, a holistic womb specialist, if social media would have been out like it was before, or if I would have, somebody would have told me there's somebody like me that exists in the world, I would have jumped on that. Okay, I'm just saying it, with a 13 centimeter fibroid, because that's a pretty big fibroid. I don't know if you guys understand how big 13 centimeters is, but that's pretty big, right? And a lot of women have fibroids that are that size, or maybe a little bit smaller, but still, it's pretty big and they grow fast. So, and I have no idea how long that 13 centimeter fibroid was growing, but it probably was growing for years. Okay, so my lifestyle, I want you to see how my lifestyle contributed to me having fibroids, right? From how I felt about myself to just how I treated myself, how I spoke to myself, just everything, right? Just everything, carrying a lot of the trauma. I didn't have any tools in my toolkit to self-regulate. I didn't know how to do that. We didn't really talk about mental health. Mental health became big, I think, a few years ago. It wasn't huge back then. It was, but not really, right? It was, I did some therapy off and on during my 20s, but it wasn't really anything consistent. I knew I had a rough childhood. I knew, there were things that happened that shouldn't have happened, but I didn't really know how to deal with that. I didn't know how to deal with that. Okay, I did not know how to deal with that. So I want to just, reiterate that when we carry a lot of this stuff with us, you have to understand that that does, like I said, it affects the way we go through life. It affects the habits that we adopt. Women that are out here drinking alcohol, partying, and men too, but I'm talking to women here. But when we live our lifestyle a certain way, where we're partying, we're drinking, we're not really thinking, or women that sleep around with lots of men, things like that, we're not really thinking. We're just, feeding the flesh without thinking deep about it. This is how we just accumulate more and more trauma, right? Accumulate more and more trauma. So there has to be an awakening somehow, some way. There has to be some type of awakening that happens where you realize you cannot live your life like this anymore, right? Some people, it's them being diagnosed with fibroids. That was my my wake-up call, right? Others, it may be a different wake-up call, but it's really important. That's why I always say, you know what? Fibroids was actually a gift to me, okay? And that sounds crazy, but the reason why I say that is because it was a thing that happened that made me realize that I needed to change my life. It was a thing that happened that made me serious about changing my life. It took for me to get fibroids to make me serious about changing my life around and finding true happiness and releasing trauma, right? And walking in the woman that I am today. I don't know where I would be if I wasn't diagnosed. If I had not been diagnosed with fibroids, I don't know where I'm scared to even think about it. I'm scared to even think about it. The trajectory that I was going, it was not good. It was not good. Okay, so it's, so many people waste so many years sick, unhappy. So many women waste so many years with fibroids, with PCOS, with things they don't have to go through, with heavy periods, right? And life is just going on. It isn't, and we tend to say, well, we don't have enough time to deal with our health right now. We don't have lots going on. But let me tell you something. When you put everything else ahead of your health, that is a reflection of what you think of yourself. So when we put everything else, our careers, right? All of this stuff going on, all the things that we have to get done, our responsibilities, when we put all that stuff above our health, right? Our womb, the health of our womb, my God, right? Your womb, that literally is your creative energy, your feminine power. That's a reflection of how you feel about yourself, and that needs to change. Okay. I would say I am lucky I went through this stuff in my 20s, and I healed from this stuff in my 20s, because there's a lot of women that are in their 30s, and probably you watching me, right? Because most women that watch me are in their, I would say, late 20s all the way up to 50s, right? Maybe you are in your late 20s, maybe you're in your 30s, okay? Maybe in your 40s, maybe in your 50s. How many years are you going to waste with these growths and with these tumors? How many more years of your life? How many more months are you going to go through heavy, painful periods where you literally have to plan your life around having a period? Is it really worth it? Are you, again, like I always say, are you living or are you existing or are you living your life? Which one? Are you thriving? Are you healing? Are you just existing and just feeding your flesh? Okay. So I just want to reiterate. So I realized that I wasted a lot of years, like I said, a lot of years, like I said, just going through the motions and not really living, right? Just working, right? Having fun, but not really living. I was not walking in my purpose. I didn't even understand and know because I was so disconnected from my intuition. I was so disconnected from my power, my personal power. I was so disconnected from self. I didn't even, if you would have asked me what my purpose was, 12, 15 years ago, I would I don't know. I had no clue. I had no clue how to even figure that out. I just was, and then some people would attribute that to age, but, I was just so lost back then. And there's people in there, I wouldn't necessarily say it's an age thing because there's people in their 30s who are so lost, right? There are people in their 40s who are so lost and they don't even know how to get themselves back. When you go on a journey of self-healing, when you go on a journey of healing your womb, I'm not just saying this, ladies. You don't understand how much it's like an awakening. You don't understand how much your life opens up. How much things open up for you, right? How much you wake up, okay? I want you to really understand and know that. And know that this is a journey that has to be a priority. I'm not saying you can't have a job, you can't do everything you have to do, but this does have to be a priority. We're not just healing for ourselves. We are healing for ourselves first and foremost, but you're also healing for, again, you've been chosen. And like I said, this is not something you want to walk away from. It's not something that you can just get cut out of you. Because guess what? The underlying reasons, the emotional reasons, the physical reasons that you develop fibroids are still there. And be very careful. Let me just say this. Because I'm hearing more and more women suffering from scar tissue in the uterine area, scar tissue just in general with their actual organs, kind of like coming together, like, the uterus, the fallopian tubes, ovaries, the bowels, due to these surgeries, right? Due to these surgeries, there's women that's had like 7 surgeries from endometriosis and things like that. When your body is very powerful and your body can heal, you know how powerful your womb is? Do you know how powerful you are as a woman? Right? So I want to reiterate that in this video because a lot of us take this journey or just take healing too lightly. We brush it under the rug until we feel like, oh, we have enough time, which is never, because you're never gonna have enough time. I'm so sorry, but you can prioritize something, and it's not gonna take time away from you when you prioritize something. It's not going to. It's just a decision that this is going to be priority in my life, along with my other responsibilities. That's it. Make a decision and then stick to it. That's it. Okay? So that's why it's important. And this is why, let me just say this again. This is why having a specialist, having a coach is important. Because you forget sometimes, and we're human, we forget sometimes the vision, the overall vision, and what needs to happen, and what needs to be prioritized. We forget, and that support is needed. That accountability, that guidance is needed. Because yes, you do have blind spots. Trust me, you have blind spots. Okay? So I say all that to say, listen, I have, and I said, if you're on my email list, you already know, we got one more spot left. And when I say one more spot left, I mean to work with me in my Detoxify Your Womb program for the last 2 months of the year. Here we are in the best month of the year, November. November 2nd. We have 2 more months, less than 2 months now, but 2 more months left until 2025. And the last thing you want to do is to walk into 2025 with the same fibroids or in the same symptoms that you have now. the last thing you want to do is spend a whole 2 months in the same agony that you've spent the last 2 months in. You want to start the new year, which is the 2025, the last half of the 2020s. Do you really want to start that in dealing with fibroids? You want to start that with all of these issues? And you may be watching this and say your fibroids are on the larger side, and you cannot get rid of a 13 centimeter or 15 centimeter fibroid in 2 months, but you can drastically shrink it. You can drastically shrink it and rid your body of, and heal your body and restore your hormonal balance. And then 2025, January 1st, you're going in with a goal to get rid of the remaining of this fibroids, but all your symptoms are already gone. You're feeling great, and you're like a new version of yourself. You can go into 2025 like that. Okay, and I want you to understand too that during the wintertime, fibroids are worse. They're far more worse in the wintertime than any other time, right? Because it's getting cold, there's a lot of stress on the reproductive organs. There's a lot going on, right? And fibroid hospitalizations go up 47% in the colder season. And we're getting there. It may not feel that cold right now, today, but we're getting there, okay? We are getting there. We'll be there before you know it. You blink and then it'll be cold. So if you're watching this and you still have fibroids, you have these symptoms, and you have, some of you guys have fibroids that are over 10 centimeters. What are you waiting for? What are you waiting for? I have 1 spot left in my Detoxify Your Womb program and this spot is for a woman that want to work with me closely, okay? Closely. We have extra perks, so you will have one-on-one calls included with this as well, and access to, I have access to our Detoxify Your Womb signature course for even 2 months after the program is done. That's how much I want you to win. This is for a woman that's ready, okay? It is $2,500 only. To work with me for 6 months in my Detoxify Your Womb program is $8,000. To work with me for 3 months in my Detoxify Your Womb program is $5,000. This spot is $2,500, and I have one more. Once the enrollment closes, that's it. That's it. One more spot, $2,500. It's either pay in full or you split the payment into 2. Okay, listen. That's you're watching this. You know that I'm talking to you. Then you need to email me as soon as you can. Email me Detoxify Your Womb program. The link is in my description box. Okay, to email me. Well, my email, is in my description box. If you want to learn more about the program, again, the link is in my description box. The Detoxify Your Womb program, our top level, our program that gets massive results. I got one more spot. Work with me till the end of the year. Get rid of these fibroids. Restore your hormonal balance. Become the woman you're supposed to be, right? And be in a container that's fully supportive and transformative, and release these emotional blocks that have been weighing you down, that are creating these physical blocks in the womb. All right. So I hope that you guys enjoyed this video. I wanted to do this video because I wanted you ladies to think back to the years leading up to when you developed fibroids. What was going on? Like what was going on mentally, physically? What was going on in your life? Where were you working, right? Were you happy? Were you happy in your relationships? Were you happy in your friendships? Analyze that, right? And let me know what you guys think about this video, okay? And I would love to hear your feedback as well. What was going on in the years that you developed fibroids? Talk to me in the comments, okay? Don't be shy. Go ahead and like the video again, and I'll talk to you guys later. Again, want to work with me for up until the end of the year? Email me ASAP. I got one more spot left, okay? Love you guys. Bye.